7:20. Hey, so let's go to the KUAM News Zoom room, and we'll bring on Dr. Michael One Love Pediatrics. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Hey, morning, guys.
Wow,
Thanks for
you're
having me.
you're feeling much better, huh?
I'm feeling so much better. Yeah, thanks to everyone with their well wishes and
Right
thoughts. I
on.
really
That's cool. That's
appreciate
cool. As you guys may or may not know, we had Dr. Michael on. I did a cool Zoom with him. He contracted COVID-19 from a small gathering with friends, right? And I remember, Doc, when we did the interview, pretty passionate when you talked about how you had came across this exposure, and you kind of fell on your sword a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the definition of the CDC's definition of close contact is 10 to 15 minutes, being within about 6 feet without a mask on. And yeah, it was a small gathering, probably 8 or 9 people. Just I was probably 4 or 5 feet away from the person. That person had no symptoms. Everybody thought we were all okay. And yeah, at the end of the night, I must have contracted it from him.
Right.
But
Can you just take us from when we last spoke? I remember you're outside in the backyard, sunbathing. Walk us through that conversation that we had to today. What was the rest of your bout with COVID like?
So I think when I spoke to you, that was right about when my sense of taste fell out.
Right.
And for the next couple of days, it was just some minor aches and pains. It felt more annoying than anything because at that point, the scariest part of COVID, I think anybody that's recovered from it already and is not knowing within this first 72 hours, your mind is racing thinking, am I going to be that unlucky person that ends up in the hospital? But by the time I spoke with you guys, I felt like the worst had already passed. Yeah, I felt a few waves of kind of low grade temperatures and chills and mild aches. But at that point, I was pretty confident I was going to get better. And since then, just a lot of rest. I've tested, or we've had people come to my clinic and test, and some people have shown up and said, oh, I've had like this, it felt like a mild cold, but it didn't feel like anything out of the ordinary or out of the new that I've never experienced before. And I had to tell them like, hey, I just got back, from COVID, and I'm telling you, it doesn't feel like anything novel. The actual illness just feels like a relatively mild illness if you have, mild or moderate symptoms.
Right.
So you're back to work?
So that's right. Yeah, so went back to work. Tuesday was the first day I was cleared by public health for quarantine after Monday. And just kind of ease myself into it. I just today I'll have a couple patients, but really the bulk of it is a lot of people are looking for testing. And I heard on the break you guys are going to be talking to Dr. Kanashiro later, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Public health is so backed up with testing. What we're trying to do is offer people DLS as an option, but it's not a free test at DLS. So there's their own fee associated with that. But some people are actually taking up on that because they want the results sooner.
Your clinic, wasn't it open over the weekend to take appointments or
It
something
was,
like that?
yeah, it was. But that testing, they didn't really need me present, right?
Right,
It was
right.
just people coming through who just wanted to get tested.
Did you have a lot of people come through?
We had a lot for our small clinic. I think we tested maybe 18 or 20, which for us is a lot.
Right,
But compared to AMC and public health, that's a drop in the bucket. But yeah.
Doc, going back to right, so last time we talked, and you said it was pretty minor. How hard was it? Because we're all used to working sick, right? I mean, you get the flu, you get a cold.
Yeah.
I might miss a day, I might miss 2 days. Maybe I rarely get sick, but I've gone back to work with a runny nose. So how was it knowing that your symptoms are kind of tailing off? Yeah, I feel like I could go to work, but man, I'm still highly contagious.
It's so funny. I had a very similar thought as I was finishing up my quarantine, and I realized this is the first time since probably elementary school that I've been allowed to just completely recover from the illness before I went back to school or went back to work. Because just like everybody else in the country, right when you think you're good enough to go back, you just kind of go back and you kind of gut through the next couple of days. So my first day back, I felt really great and pretty energized coming back to work. But one thing is, the CDC has some research, and they found that 10 days from symptoms. Most people after 10 days will stop having infectious particles. And for people with more severe symptoms, 20 days. So nobody, it looks like they haven't been able to recover infectious particles from what I read after 20 days. So even though I stopped, quarantine isolation, of course I'm wearing a mask at work and being safe. But at home, I'm still sleeping in a separate room from my wife. We're not completely isolated. I stopped wearing a mask, but again, I still haven't given her a hug since I got sick. We're gonna wait till the weekend, and which will be about
a day,
15,
little candlelight dinner, little
days.
catch up with the wifey,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Don't
So
call
looking
him
forward
this
to the
weekend,
weekend.
guys. No appointments this weekend.
Oh my gosh. I wanted to ask about, you said you're back to work. You got cleared by public health. Did you have to get tested in order to go back? Because
No, there's actually CDC doesn't recommend a test-based strategy for going back to work, mostly because some people are still testing positive weeks after they recover, right? And what we're figuring out is that they're not infectious, but we're picking up probably like viral particles
Right.
that are being amplified by the PCR. So if I tested again, even though I'm completely over my COVID course and I test positive, then it puts us in kind of a, well, we know you're probably over it, but you have a positive test, so the CDC isn't recommending that anymore.
Right.
But yeah, the big concern, as I was finishing up quarantine, reading up articles about some heart inflammatory issues that some German studies have come out, and I think JAMA has come out too. And then some patients, looks like, hopefully a very small minority, but some patients are what they call long haulers, and they have these COVID symptoms for months after they supposedly recover.
Wow.
They're still dealing with fatigue and headaches, and I really hope I'm not in that category, but who knows?
But if you're a long hauler, are you still, I guess, what is it? That you could still,
Contagious?
you could pass it along to
It doesn't seem like you're contagious,
Mhm.
but it's, really bringing into question, like, what are the long-term effects of this virus? And if it's, if it lays dormant, if it, what happens, we just don't know, right? We just don't have enough data yet.
But hey, when you went back to work, I'm wondering, was there like a stigma with, hey, I just saw Dr. on the KUAM Zoom. He has COVID.
It didn't seem like it. The one thing, I guess I can kind of, an extra benefit is now I'm COVID immune, right? So I don't know too many other providers that are COVID immune.
You got to put that in your sign.
Yeah.
I know Bree wanted to ask.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because we have this situation with a mother and her 10-month-old baby up at quarantine. She had tested negative for COVID-19. She flew in last week Thursday, and she got the results Saturday while she was at the Wyndham Garden in quarantine.
Okay.
And she sent all the information to public health. Hey, it's negative, and they told her, okay, you're good to go to leave. But 5 minutes later, after telling her that, they said, oh no, your baby needs to be tested. And she said, well, in the public health guidelines, it doesn't say that infants need to be tested. There's I think it's on page 1, about 5 years old, if necessary, can be tested for COVID. And I'm just wondering, do you know, do babies need to be tested for COVID? If they're not exhibiting any signs or symptoms or anything like that?
That's actually something that's come up a few times. Typically, I guess the advice that I was giving, because they asked me, the kids will be tested, and generally our thinking was, no, like younger kids, initially I think the cutoff we put at 14, and then the cutoff we dropped down to 12, and now might be dropping down to 10. Now that we're thinking maybe older kids might be able to spread a little bit more, but in general, kids that young, they're not going to really pose a threat to spreading it very well. We know that's that's something that babies and smaller children don't do very well. But I think public health was giving the option for a lot of parents to get testing, and that was something that a lot of parents took up, from what I was told. I don't know about a mandatory testing for children, I would definitely have you guys ask, maybe Dr. Kanashiro knows a little bit more about that, or it might be something that they're just kind of doing internally.
Right. They said it
To
was an
really just kind
option
of
to
catch.
go to a private clinic to have, I guess, infants, babies, minors tested.
Yeah,
But
we
do you
we've
offer
had some.
testing for babies?
Yeah, we do some of the. Yeah, I mean, if they want to test,
How do you
it's
test
it's
a baby
it's
for
just a
COVID? You shove a
same deal. Yeah,
wow.
same deal. Is you got just get a nasal swab,
Wow.
and then send it off for PCR.
Poor baby.
All right.
Yeah,
But as far as you
it's not
know,
uncomfortable.
as far as you know, it's not a requirement that a infant get tested for COVID if they have
It's
no
not.
symptoms or
It wasn't a recommendation from from the PAG
Right.
that I recall, but if public health is offering and just because they want to get tested, but about not letting them leave, I'm not aware of that. I think you guys would have to ask the quarantine test out team.
Right. Hey, so were you able to attend the PAG meetings this week?
Oh, everything switched to Zoom, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit with Adeloop kind of closing down. And hopefully not just me testing positive and scaring everybody off, but yeah.
Right.
But it hit everybody as a good wake up call, I think.
Right.
And initially we were talking about whether or not to really go back to PCOR 1, but I think seeing the numbers rise at the hospital, I think we made the right decision.
Right. They're up again.
Move swiftly. Yeah, it's getting a little scary with the ICU numbers kind of starting to climb up again.
Right.
We have limited staffing for the ICU, and that's one thing that we just can't forget. We still have very limited hospital capacity, so if the ICU gets full, we're going to be in trouble.
Is that kind of the conversation with the PAG right now?
Yeah, it is. We're all watching this very closely, and we hear the updates from Dr. Uggan, Jolene Uggan, the ICU director. It's, we got flu season right around the corner. One big thing is please, everybody get their flu shot this year. We have no idea how COVID's going to interact with the flu, and that's just one less thing we need to worry about. Right?
So you attended Tuesday's meeting via Zoom?
Yes, and there'll be one tonight via Zoom too.
Right. So what did you guys discuss in terms of like home quarantine? Because I know that Dr. Hoa was mentioning that that's something that they really need to take a close look at.
Yeah, it was, without going in specific, we didn't really change much about home quarantine. We just kind of discussed, what kind of steps we need to take. So, we covered a little bit about some other types of testing. We discussed about the testing backlog. As regarding the home quarantine, there's suspicion that it's not, people aren't as compliant as they could be, but we don't really have the data to back that up yet. And so, we're just trying to, for right now, I think, PCOR 1, the first time we went through this, I think people overall did a pretty good job, but we're not really going to see the effects of PCOR 1, as for like a week or two, right?
Right. So was discussions during the PAG meeting focusing on the possibility of extending PCOR 1? Because like you said, we wouldn't necessarily see the results.
We would really like to, well, we felt, there was the discussion both ways, right? One was, do we just kind of extend this a little bit or, be a little bit more stringent with this? Or the other side is, how do we find ways to kind of get us out of PCOR 1, maybe more to PCOR 2 kind of situation, right? But, it wasn't, we never landed on a consensus on it right now. We're going to just carry on.
Pretty sure it's a healthy discussion, right, Doc?
Yeah, these discussions, we lay it all out there.
I wish I could get in on the Zoom.
Nobody takes it personal, but there's a lot of discussion.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Doc. So with this news coming out about the backlog of testing at public health, from that pandemic posture, right? So we had all these, over like 1,500 people get swabbed over the weekend. And in your opinion, how accurate of a picture are we getting of the COVID right now if we're not running the tests?
Yeah, the community-wide testing, it really exploded, right? I think it was almost double what we've had previously. And as accurate as a picture, well, we're gonna get a picture when we get the results back. It'll be a picture of 1 week ago, right?
Right.
And so that's one of the things we're kind of hoping we could kind of maybe slow down. So when we say we want to postpone the testing, it's really to let the lab catch up. We
Right.
just don't have that capability right now. And we understand that, hey, getting your results even like 3 or 4 days later, not super helpful. But if we're having to wait a week later, then it like how much are we really helping, right? Because we're
Right.
not telling people, hey, get tested and then stay at home, don't do anything. We are in PCOR 1, so that's kind of what people should be doing anyway. But
Right.
a lot of people out there are still out working, and you see the streets, kind of
Busy.
people going to work and
Yeah.
such. So yeah, we're trying to give the lab some time. It's as far as what I understand, the lab just gets told, hey, we're going to be doing this testing, and you guys just have to do it. So hats off to everybody at public health lab that are just working their butt off trying to get this thing done. And from what I understand, they've managed to preserve the sample, so none of it's going to get wasted. And we really don't want to lose the public's trust in testing, but you're right, we just don't really quite have the capacity to run that many tests all at once,
Right.
very quickly.
So I wonder at what point, like you said, when we get that snapshot, it's going to be dated. It's going to be
Mhm.
from a week ago. So at what
Yes.
point do we consider throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, "Hey, everybody who got tested over the weekend, man, sorry, we got to come in, and if you want to get tested again."
Well, I mean, our test positivity rate, for our 7-day rolling average, I think is hovering around 3%. Is that right?
Let me check that.
So,
Yeah.
so the vast majority of people, 97% of people are still going to test negative. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. It does, with these positives that keep coming back, though, what it looks like is we probably have a lot of people out there who probably aren't thinking that they have COVID, maybe asymptomatic, maybe pre-symptomatic, but we're starting to pick it up on these community tests now that people are just a little bit more aware of them.
Right.
So, that's how we kind of get, I think that's what happened in that we did so well, several weeks ago, to the point that, everyone was feeling pretty comfortable. We, myself included, we
Right.
were starting to get together again, going out to the bars. And we probably had some people, who were just kind of low level positive without really knowing it. And, as we got back and started, socializing again, we started spreading again. So we did really well the first time. I'm confident that we could do it really well again. But it's just a little what's the word? I don't know, just a little bit more fatigue, I think, going through this a second time.
Right, especially
Mhm.
having
What
just
could
been,
we do?
like you said, in PCOR 3, lottie dottie, we like to party, and then, boom,
Yeah.
pull the tablecloth off the table, PCOR 1, here we are. So, yeah, it is, you're right, it's a lot to take. Doc,
Oh, I wanted to just
Yeah.
talk about the triggers from going from PCOR 1 to PCOR 2. Was that discussed during the PAG meeting? Because when I look at
It was, so we took a look at the PCOR kind of criteria that we set back when this happened, back when we first formed it. And for the most part, there were a few things that, hey, we felt like, does this really qualify for us to go all the way back to PCOR 1? It looks like we're meeting some of these metrics that we set for ourselves. But really the kind of swing factor was, one, the hospital. Personally, for me, flu season coming up was a big factor for me. And then, just the very, very quick rise in cases was something that, really caught us all off guard. And we just did not, if it started creeping up a little bit, maybe we could just ease back a little bit first. But, it just rose so quickly that, we just really didn't want the hospital to be overwhelmed.
right.
And so that kind of overruled some of the other things. So, we got to take another look, and that's one of our tasks for tonight, to kind of look at the PCOR criteria and find one that works a little bit better for us. as you know, like everything with COVID is just changes, and so the information that we have now, what we know about the virus now, is a little bit different from when we first came up with the PCOR guidelines.
So
And
we're
then
the meeting tonight will be part of the discussion will be about changing the criteria and triggers from moving from PCOR 1 to PCOR 2.
yeah, it'll be one of our discussion points for sure. It was kind of one of the big ones that we thought ended on Tuesday night. But it's like I said, these things, every detail we talk it out, we hash it out, and having so many physicians on, we see we get everybody's opinions, and everybody has well, a lot of people have their own viewpoints, so we have a nice variety of diversity of ideas to look at.
Just so our
And
viewers,
so it takes a while.
yeah, just so our viewers are aware of what those triggers are to go from PCOR 1 to PCOR 2. The first one is cases. Downward trend of confirmed cases and a downward trend of positive tests as a percent of total tests over a 14-day period, utilizing a 5-day rolling average. Are we meeting that, or are we?
No, we're going the other way on that
Okay.
one right now, right?
All right,
'Cause we're getting more and more
hospitalization.
cases.
Hospitalization. Guam hospitals are able to treat all inpatients without resorting to alternate standards of care due to COVID-19 cases. Are we meeting that?
Right now, the hospital, I believe, is meeting that, but it's
Barely.
like I said, the
Yeah.
ICU is starting to fill up, and we're getting more. I think last count I saw, we had maybe 14
I think
COVID
it's-
patients.
I want to say
17.
17,
I think it
Doc.
was
Yeah, there was
17.
an increase yesterday.
Has it
of
gone up
3.
already?
Right.
Yeah.
And
so,
GMH is looking at
know.
establishing a COVID Care 4 unit.
Right.
All right, testing. This is
Yeah,
the
and-
other trigger. Guam has the capacity to test all people with COVID-19 symptoms.
with symptoms, I believe we do actually. What we're getting a lot of testing from the community right now is people without symptoms and people without established exposure. But people with actual symptoms and positive contacts, I think we do. But we are also getting a lot of people who just want to get tested just because, right?
Right.
So
A
we're
lot of
able
them
to do the
missed out on
tests. We're
this
just
aspect.
not able to run them through public health.
Right.
Okay, contact tracing. Public health has the capacity to conduct adequate monitoring of all COVID-19 cases and tracing of their contacts with one shy of
Yeah, I
600
believe-
confirmed cases.
I believe we do. They're all working really hard. I know I was getting a call twice a day from the contact tracing team, and I was really impressed at the level of thoroughness. I thought they were doing a really good job. Dr. Kanashiro would be the best person to ask
Right,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I know that they're all working really hard, and the governor pledged to hire more contact tracers, but
Right.
I think we're doing a good job there.
So having said what you said, do you think we're ready to move into PCOR 2?
I don't think so yet. I think we really need to see the cases start going down. I think we want to see the hospital census start to ease up a little bit. Like I said, we're right around the corner from flu season. The GMH has already started to diagnose people with the flu. So, it's just, I read an article about the CDC talking about how, the second pandemic that they're calling, COVID and flu, right? So, we know flu, wreaks havoc every year, and it fills up our hospital by itself. And so now we're doing that with COVID, and that's the big danger with COVID. It just increases the patient load, and our hospital is not elastic, right? We're we have fixed amount of space.
Did you have any?
I wanted to ask about face-to-face learning, but maybe it's too soon now that you just shot down. We're not going back to PCOR 2, so.
It's not ready yet, but the few reports I've been seeing, it looks like it's the employees that are testing positive right at the schools. And that's kind of the big concern that we all had, right? I wasn't really, yes, we kind of think about the kids going back, but really if this gets into the schools, it's probably going to be from the adult staff to spread it and then spread it down to the kids.
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad that everybody's taking the safe precautions right now.
Doc,
Go
are
ahead.
you good? Because I was going to say why.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, what were you taking while you were?
Were you taking disinfectants with your coffee, hydroxychloroquine, lemonchino? We
No,
heard.
no, no. All I did was, I took a little bit of Advil for the first couple of days for the aches, and really that was it. Just a lot of rest, a lot of fluids. I had a friend drop off some like fresh squeezed orange juice, which is great. I couldn't taste it, but I could tell it would have been delicious.
Right. Yeah.
But really it was just a lot of rest. And
Okay.
that's really, you just wait.
Yeah. The waiting game. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you,
Man,
Doc.
appreciate your time. Really good insight.
All right, guys. It was good to be on.
All
Yeah,
right,
always.
stay
Okay.
safe.
And are you guys doing testing in One Love? Is that ongoing? Is it an option for people?
It is.
Okay.
It's by appointment only. I think this morning's schedule or today's schedule looked a little bit full, but if people want to get tested, they should take a look. Yeah, we had a lot. Like I said, if it was just people who only had symptoms or only had positive contacts, it'd be pretty easy. But people just want to get tested now.
Right.
Because they
Yeah.
missed out, so.
And this is what we wanted. We wanted people to want to get tested. So here we are.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doc, thank you, Doc.
Take care.
Wash
All
your
right,
hands.
thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
All right. There you go, Dr. Michael. He wears many hats. I'm surprised he doesn't have 3 heads.